Today, I'm going to show you how to add horizontal scrolling to your app design. Let's get started. So starting off, I'm opening up a project that I'm currently working on. It's a restaurant app design that allows users to find and review restaurants in their neighborhood. I'm currently working on this detail page that allows users to review certain pieces of information about the restaurant, including its hours of operation, location information, its menu, and reviews. At the top of the page, I have this area designated for images. I want to give the user the ability to swipe through several images of the food that the restaurant has. Currently, my design is in Sketch, but my goal is to move it into Origami to add some interaction to this prototype. So I already have an Origami prototype created, and it's set to iPhone 8, which is the size that I'm designing in. If I jump back into Sketch, I'm going to grab the elements piece by piece and then add them to Origami. If you're brand new to this and never done it before, I have a detailed video that goes over how to import your Sketch designs into Origami, and I'll link that below. So first I'm going to grab the elements on the page that aren't going to be modified. So I'm going to grab this header, all this detail information, and the navigation bar. Command C to copy it, go into Origami, and then paste it by clicking Command V. Then I'm going to want to grab the images. Now I have several images that I want to include on this separate page, so I'm going to grab each one and copy it and paste it into Origami. Now for organization, I'm just going to label everything. I'm also going to grab the 3 dots that represents where the user is in the carousel. Command C to copy it, and then paste them into Origami. Okay, so now I have my prototype set in Origami. I'm going to want to add interactivity to this image area so the user can actually swipe and view the different images, and the dots would adjust accordingly. So the way that I'm going to add this scrolling behavior is I'm going to put all of these images in one group and have them lined up side by side with one another. Then, by having the user scroll, I'm going to add pagination so then the carousel knows which page the user is viewing. Then we will add logic so the dots represent which page the viewer is on. So dropping back into Origami, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I want that burger image to be the first one visible on landing. So at first I'm going to hide the salad image and hide the pizza image. So currently the burger is set to a 0,0 position, which is where I want it to be with a width of 375. So I'm going to move this salad to start at 375. And I'm going to move this pizza by 375 plus 375. So it's on like the third page. If I make these visible, now they're not viewable because they're technically side by side next to the burger image. Then I'm going to place these 3 images in a group by clicking Command J. Then I'm going to go to Touch, scroll in the X direction, and the interaction patch now appears. On landing, this interaction patch has some default properties that we will play around with. If I just start swiping, I am now able to see that second image and that third image. So I can just scroll as I wish and it is viewable. But right now it doesn't have any snapping to it. As you can see, I can put it directly in the center and get this kind of odd effect. So I'm going to want to include some pagination. So as I start to scroll, it will automatically snap to that page. So right here in the scroll X, instead of it being a free scroll, I'm going to set it to paging. So now, as I swipe, it will snap to that next image. So now this behaves as one would expect, but the dots at the bottom don't reflect which page the user is actually on. So I'm going to need to make a modification in order for this to work. So because we imported it directly from Sketch, when I grab the 3 dots at one time, it's imported as an image. As you can see, if I select the dot layer, it says it's an image with these qualities. And it doesn't really give me that many options in terms of modification. Like I can't change the color of this, I could change the opacity of this layer, but it views it as one solid layer and not as 3 individual elements. So instead of having this dots layer, I'm going to add ovals directly in Origami that then I will modify. By recreating the elements in Origami, I'm given more flexibility about what kind of effect I want it to have. I can add a color transition now, plus each dot will act independently and not as one grouped element. So the reason why I named this dot page 0 is because we're going to take advantage of this value right here. It says 0 page X. So with this scroll interaction, it views the very first page as a 0 and then goes onward. So it kind of uses it like an index in an array where it actually starts at 0 instead of starting at 1. So if you pay attention to this value right here, I'm on the burger, which is the very first image. When I go to the salad, which is technically like the second page, it views it as page 1. And then when I go to the pizza, which is the third image, it goes to page 2. I want each dot to accurately reflect which page the user is viewing. So first I'm going to set up with the first dot and then move forward. So I want to include some logic so this dot has an active color when the user is on the page that is designated to it, and when the user is on any other page, it goes into an inactive state. I'm going to have to include some logic statements to verify which value is here. So first, I'm going to double tap and then write equals. Basically, I need to verify what the value is of this piece of information in order to know which page the user is actually on. So I'm going to take this page X and connect it to the first value of the equals, and then I'm going to include a logic statement. So when the first value is 0 and the second value is 0, which is when I want this particular dot to be active, I want to turn on this switch. And the switch will be a transition of color. So I'm going to second click, instead of type being a number, I'm going to set it to color. And the start will be some kind of gray color to represent that it is inactive. And the end color will be an orange. And I'm going to set that to the color layer of that dot. So because we are on page 0, it is setting that orange color to the first dot, which is what I want to happen. Then I want to say that if this page is not 0, I want to turn off this switch. I'm going to add a not patch. And not patch returns true when the input is false. So when that first value does not equal 0, I'm going to want to turn off the switch. So I'm going to attach that not between the equals and the turn off of the switch. So now if I swipe on this, it turns off, and it stays off as I swipe through the other images. So again, I want to check if that first value equals the value 0, and if it does, I want the switch to be turned on and the color to change to the active state. But if that second value equals anything other than 0, I want the switch to be turned off and I want that color to be inactive. So now in order to make this dynamic, I'm going to add this logic statement to all the other dots. So now let's check if it's working. On the first page, that dot is active. When I swipe to the second page, the second dot is active, and when I swipe to the third page, the third dot is active. So this carousel is behaving as expected. So that's how I add horizontal scrolling and logic to my carousels. Please let me know if you have any questions about the topic, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching!